Welcome to the ghost gun capital of the Philippines, Danao. Here, the local specialty isn't some seafood or handcrafted souvenir. It's Paltic, or homemade, untraceable guns.
Ghost guns.
Scattered across these hills are thousands of underground gunsmiths. They craft weapons that spread across the Philippines and even reach as far as Japan and the US. And these untraceable guns fuel everything from hired killers to political hit squads and drug syndicates.
I don't care if we get caught. It doesn't matter if we die in a fight or in jail. Dead is dead.
The wildest part, though, to me, is that this black market thrives in the middle of Cebu, one of the country's biggest tourist hubs. And given that it felt so reachable, we're diving in. We're gonna see how this hidden industry works. I'm gonna head into the mountains and try and turn a chunk of rusty ass scrap metal into a completely working firearm, all within the day.
Done, mate.
And if everything goes to plan, we're gonna fire it before the day's even out. Let's go.
Alright guys, my mission today is to really get a grasp of the gun industry, both legal and illegal, that exists here in and around Cebu City, the island here. And so I'm here at a gun range with the best of the best to try and get a grip on just how things go down. These guys are my gateway into this world.
These guys at the range, they're the best that Cebu has to offer. There's everyone, competitive shooters, cops, even former gun runners. It's a wild lineup, but it really works. And it's a good thing too, because when it comes to guns, I'm a complete noob. And without these guys, I'd be totally lost.
Very good.
They seem to know, everything. Guys, have you ever been stuck at an airport, internetless, desperately searching for one of those SIM card vendors? You just landed, you need internet, maps, messaging, maybe you need to book a ride, but instead, you're just kind of like wandering around, trying to find one of those kiosks that may or may not even exist. Or maybe you're just gonna risk it. You're gonna turn on roaming with your local SIM, and after just a few quick texts, maybe a Google search, an Uber ride, you're gonna get hit with the most ridiculous roaming charge.
The better way is to use Airlo. No confusion, no airport SIM hunting. Just download the app, install an eSIM, and boom, you're connected the second the plane hits the ground. Airlo gives you access to eSIMs in 200 plus countries, meaning no more roaming fees and no more begging for Wi-Fi. And yeah, you still keep your regular phone number. It's really handy. I use Airlo every time I travel now, and nowadays I'm online before I even collect my bags. I completely skip the SIM drama. So try it yourself. Download Airlo today. Use my code Fraser3 for $3 off your first eSIM. Stay connected, stay completely stress-free. Download Airlo now. Use my code Fraser3, again, $3 off. I appreciate you guys checking out the sponsors and supporting the channel. Where was I? Weren't we about to build a gun or something like that? Let's go do that.
We need a pseudonym for you. What can I call you?
Tiger Heart.
Tiger Heart. So the illegal industry here for firearms caters, they make cheaper weapons. Is that true?
Actually, yes. It's a bit cheaper compared to the branded ones.
So these guys, despite the fact that they're kind of like backyard smiths, they're considered up there.
There are other gunsmiths in Cebu. I consider them the Class A gunsmith, wherein they can make limited firearms which are similar to the very expensive ones. They can copy, replicate it, and if you put it side by side, it's actually similar.
Whoa! So there you go. We know it works. It sounds like a 45, it kicks like a 45, and it shoots like a 45, so deadly stuff.
But there are others who are not that skilled but can produce a very low quality firearms. You can find it in Danao actually.
So, but that sounds like it's like a pretty full-fledged industry. Like there's everything from the kind of, makeshift cheap weaponsmith through to the very high-end, can replicate the top-end weapons, and it's all kind of on the black market.
Yeah, actually, there are gunsmiths from Cebu who are now working abroad for a big firearms industry.
And they give me some background, some scope. I really get a grasp for just how big Cebu's legal gun industry is. This is the Philippines' gun mecca. It always has been.
So when did you stop making illegal guns and start, helping out in the other industry?
Since I was 35 years old.
So now you're a gunsmith. Do you need a license to work legally?
Yeah,
Was it hard to get or not?
it's very difficult, sir.
Very difficult. What do you have to do?
Because of financial
It costs a lot to get.
problem.
Yeah. So to become a legal gunsmith, it's very expensive.
Very expensive.
Wow.
More than $1 million.
More than $1 million.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, man. It makes sense, I guess, why a lot of people just stay illegal.
They point me in the right direction of the illegal side also. I have the confidence to head deep into the mountains of Danao. The villagers here are renowned for their sheer number of gunsmiths. Around 2,000 gunsmiths quietly work away in these mountains, and more than 20% of Danao's entire population depends on this trade. Think about that for a second. More than 1 in 5 locals are tied up in manufacturing ghost guns. And it's not that small scale. At its peak, these hills produced over 10,000 firearms every single month.
Hi guys, this might be one of the craziest things I think I've ever done. We are deep in the mountains of God knows where, Danao, and the goal is to make some rather illegal weapons.
And it's not long before I'm pulling into a household.
Hi guys, we've sort of made it to the top of this mountainside camp out.
That looks just like every other Filipino countryside mountain dwelling that I've come across.
But here they have a real density of these local makers. Rico, nice to meet you, man. So, I guess today we're making a gun? Okay.
The craziest thing to me though is that we're starting out with just a single sheet of steel. That's it. This rusty ass piece of metal is all we really need to start building out this gun.
Hi guys, we're kicking things off right away, and I mean instantly the thing that stands out to me is just how bare bones this tiny little workshop is. There is no advanced machinery, no CNCs, no anything. It's files, hammers, there's one drill press in the corner, and with just that and some knowledge, we're going to be able to turn out a pretty complete weapon.
All the measurements, it turns out, are completely memorized. Our smith, he doesn't use patterns, no guides, just years and years of experience. He's been making these things since he was a kid. Here's roughly how it came to be. Filipino guerrillas fighting the Japanese forces during World War II needed weapons. So locals, they got creative and they turned scrap metal into working guns with minimal tools. And trust me, to this day, these guys don't need much in the way of tooling. And when the war ended, these skills, they vanished from much of the Philippines. But in Danao, it stuck around. These guys adapted, and by the 1960s, Danao was famous nationwide for expertly crafting a whole bunch of guns, but notably replicas of the Colt 45 pistol.
Are the guns all the same template? Like it's all made for the same sort of design?
No, it's different. It depends on the order. They have one is a Magwheel, Mark IV, 1911.
What's their favorite gun?
Ano sa pinaka-common nga o gina-order?
1911.
This one?
1911.
This is a 1911.
But they can make all kinds of other stuff. If you have an order, one of these guys in the mountain, they probably know how to make it.
It says made in USA.
Made in Danao.
It's made in Danao.
You know, this would usually be the bit where I'd be like laying out an instructional, kind of like walking you guys step by step through the process, which I'm pretty sure is against YouTube's terms of service and might even get me arrested. Maybe not the arrested bit, but I'm sure this video would get demonetized. So I don't really know what to say. Right now he's filing stuff. You guys don't get the walkthrough.
And things move pretty quickly. After just hours and hours of grinding off rust and banging things into shape, it's finally time to fire up the welder that's right next to the pig pen, of course.
Oh, guys, that is so hot, I'm telling you. And it is crazy to me. Oh my God, I can barely freaking hold this thing, it's dumb. It's crazy to me just how quickly. I'm gonna put this down. It is crazy to me just how quickly we are ending up with something that sort of kind of looks like a gun handle. And shit, I feel like I could have done this in high school. Just way more basic than I would have thought.
Then it's back to the workshop for more hours and hours of filing. And honestly, I'm starting to get the drift. This gig boils down to two main things. One, knowing what you're doing, and two, having a borderline insane level of patience for hand filing and sawing.
You know what I'm starting to realize? That this job largely is like an absolute ton of filing, cross-checking, manually checking if it's smooth.
There's no blueprints, no templates, no measurements written down at all. It's just in his head, straight up muscle memory. But down a couple of tools, we need to take a short trek through the jungle to the neighbor's place, which of course just happens to be another gunsmith.
Hey guys.
We need to borrow a couple of mystery tools and kind of take over his workshop a little bit. And thankfully, he just doesn't mind because, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to call these guys a cooperative, but there's definitely a strong sense of community here. They're all here to help each other out. They've got the real tools here also, power tools that really matter if you're trying to save time. The stuff that's not all that optional when you're trying to build a gun.
Guys, check just like how much stock removal there is here. Like there's just like mountains of steel dust. That is crazy. They are really taking this gun down. Like it started pretty wide, now it's getting pretty realistic.
And these guys are at it too. They're grinding, drilling, but before long, we've got something that is definitely looking kind of like a gun. And once the slide goes into place, things are really starting to take shape. Somehow, unbelievably, that rusty ass piece of metal is starting to look a whole lot like a Colt 45. Today, there's a steady market for these guns, and it's driven by this wide range of customers. There's the bad guys, the hired killers, the political hit squads, the drug syndicates, but surprisingly, a big chunk of the buyers are just ordinary citizens that are tired of dealing with the really expensive, tedious nightmare of legal gun ownership in the Philippines.
Do you mind if I ask, like, how did you get into this world? Because I understand now you work in the kind of legal side of things, but it wasn't always that way.
Yes, actually, when I was younger, I used to purchase firearms and sell it illegally. Then when I joined the shooting community 15, 16, 17 years ago, I got licensed.
So you were essentially like a gun runner.
But because there are people who want to own the cheaper firearms.
Yes. You were a middleman.
Maybe.
I mean, but you were able to transition to something within the same industry to the legal side of things.
Yes, because I cannot stand anymore selling those to people.
Yeah.
I advise them to just go have your license.
Yeah.
Be a licensed citizen, a responsible firearm owner.
If you buy a gun, how long does it take to come?
Because gun ban, so maybe almost 6 months. Because
and without the gun ban, how long would it take?
we give to our client 2 months.
What is your most popular gun that people buy here?
Actually, sir, we are the Glock and the Taurus. The Glock 17, Glock 19, this 19X, and it's depend upon the client, sir, what they want.
And these are the prices, about 52,000?
Yeah, this is the prices, but
and 30,000.
Yeah. Then we add 6,500 for the license fee.
Got it.
How much do they get paid for each gun?
Pila the bayad na pagpalit ng armas. It's between 6,000 and 12,000, depends on the quality of the firearms.
How many guns can they make in like a week or a month?
Pila ka armas yung mahimo sa mga duha? They can make at least one or two.
1 or 2 a week?
In a month.
In a month.
It's just far quicker and easier and way cheaper to get an untraceable weapon from Danao. And if you feel like your family's safety is dependent on it, you're going to pick one of these things up.
And who are the orders coming from? Like, where are these guns going? They're bought locally, or they know who buys it?
Kinsa daw gapalit ani sa inyo kasi yung mga customer. We don't know the customers, it's just an order, so it goes through someone ordering through us. And it goes to Danao proper. We don't know who orders, who paid, how much they paid.
law enforcement does try to shut this place down.
Is he scared? Is he worried about getting busted by the police at all?
Yeah, we're so scared, no? There's a police, we run away.
Where do you run?
Asa dagan. We run into the mountains.
So how does it work? The police come here and just do raids and bust the workshops?
The police would come and swoop in here. So they would be arrest made, but they run into the mountains.
How many times has that happened?
Kapila na mo na raid dire. Yeah, last year there were 2 raids here.
2 raids. Right, wow. So they just get informed by neighbors and then they get the hell out of there.
Yes, our neighbors inform us.
And the government's attempts to provide legal alternatives have failed pretty spectacularly also. They get bogged down in just ridiculous bureaucracy, or the offers are just really low pay, and they almost provide zero true incentive. Back at the home base, and the slide just needs a few more details. The grooves to help with the racking, cocking, whatever the right term is.
Alright guys, no specifics yet again, but you know, a little bit of bending, grinding, polishing, borrowing the neighbor's machinery. And yeah, you get something that I think is called the slide. Gun nerds, don't kill me in the comments if I am incorrect.
And eventually, we hit the point where it's seemingly all about trial and error and feel. We're trying to get those parts to line up smoothly, no jamming, just that clean, satisfying click where everything lines up. There are, of course, the small parts or the internals. These have already been made before I showed up. And to my surprise, even these are entirely done by hand. This step though, you cannot wing it from memory. You need a pattern, which for obvious reasons, we are not going to be showing on screen. Okay, YouTube?
I think one of the really impressive things to me is that all of this is achievable up here in the mountaintops with such a small amount of machinery. Really, the grinder and the drill press are the only 2 mechanized tools that they're using. In fact, when we asked what is the hardest bit, he let us know that it was anything involving the sawing, because they just don't have a sort of automatic way to do the hack sawing. That's all by hand. Crazy. Handmade spring.
And as the afternoon comes around, it's assembly time. Parts go in at just record speed. There's hammering, screwing, sliding into place. Everything lands with that crisp click that says, yeah, this thing, it fits right. And sure, there's a little bit of tweaking here and there that's needed, but before you know it, we're dry firing. Wow.
Ghost guns. That's wild. There it is, guys. Pretty much complete, handmade Filipino ghost gun, 911.
We might have gone a little bit overboard with the grooves. These things they're pretty sharp.
All right, so before you can sell these things, you gotta test it, right? I have just this dedicated micro hole in the bottom of the studio. Let's see how it goes. All right, first one. It's a dud. Second one. Boom. So there it is, guys. A completely finished Filipino ghost gun. And I mean, quite honestly, holding it, it's real clear this thing's gonna do the job. Finishing on it, I mean, it's not super smooth. You can feel the rough edges. The grip has some serious bite. But man, if that's not a pretty well done weapon, then I don't know what is.
And in a weird way, after visiting, I'm kinda sympathetic to these guys. Most of these gunsmiths here are 2nd, 3rd, 4th generation craftsmen. They've been making these things since they were kids.
When did you start making guns? How old?
Since I am 13 years old.
13 years old?
Yeah.
Wow. Who taught you how to make guns? You just learned?
Father.
Your father also made guns?
Yeah, before.
I see.
It's not just their job, it's their heritage. It's been passed down from their fathers' fathers. gunsmithing, it's not just economic survival here. It's part of the local identity.
How do most people here learn how to do it? Do they just learn from friends, neighbors, fathers?
We don't really know the history. We don't really know the history for this. But when we were growing up, it's already here. So we learn how to do it. We apprentice. We try to make it, and then we become gunsmith.
That's crazy.
He learned this when he got married. He got married to a local woman from here, and when he came here, he was able to do an apprentice from someone from other place, and he learned by doing it, by watching them, and then he was able to produce his own gun.
Does he enjoy it? Does he enjoy the work?
There's some sort of rewarding feeling because I was able to learn how to do it, and I'm able to produce on my own. So that's the kind of rewarding feeling. Do you think that children here would I would not allow my children, if I have a son, I would not allow him to do this kind of job and skills. But I cannot speak for the other children of people here.
But the fallout from Danao's guns reaches way beyond this little city. They are used in political assassinations, in drug wars, in election violence, and in extrajudicial killings all across the country, and this stuff is surprisingly common even today. Upwards of 80% of gun crimes in the Philippines are committed with unregistered weapons, and how many of those come out of Danao? I don't know. These things are untraceable. But what we do know is that they've turned up even abroad. They end up in the hands of gangsters in Japan and the US.
As far as I know, I bought it from a nation. I'm Filipino.
It is kind of a scary industry.
And what about the legal route to do this? Like, has he ever thought about trying to become a legal gunsmith in
Cebu and Danao?
Yeah.
Nabay, nisangko pa si mong pangutok nga ano man. So right now, there's no legal pathway for them.
Really?
Yeah, so that's why he wants to stop.
So what's your plan going forward? So are you planning to just wind down bit by bit?
Ano yung plano sa kaugmao ninyo? I'm planning to stop as I'm tired of running away from authorities.
And so what's the end game here? How do we wrap it up? Using force hasn't, and I think just won't fix this problem. There's too much poverty, no decent jobs. There's a deeply held tradition that keeps this business just thriving here. And the craftsmen, when I talk to them, they want a way out, but the government just hasn't offered them any practical alternatives.
What does he think the future is for the gunsmiths here? Does he think everyone will stop, or there will always be demand, and so there will always be someone willing to do it?
Kamo dere, inyong opinion dere, inyong opinion about sa inyong it could have been better if we get legalized. That would be the ideal situation.
Seems a shame that you have this legacy of gunsmiths here that have a skill set that are being forced almost to sell things illegally. It's almost as if there were an easier way for them to become licensed to legally sell it, and if the government encouraged the industry here, there'd be an easy out for everybody involved.
Actually, for me, the problem here is education. You educate the government that these people are here skilled and experienced.
Yeah.
And you educate these skilled and experienced people to legalize their trade, to cooperate with the government, and the government would give them leeway, support them.
Yeah.
Give them the correct training, machineries, and everything.
Yeah.
It would be a booming industry.
Yeah. If you ask me, if authorities really wanted to solve this thing, they need to stop just playing whack-a-mole and start providing some kind of straightforward legal pathway. Until then, these Danao gunsmiths, they're just going to keep hammering away.